On the world news tonight, Tinubu to speak on information data at Paris summit. Presidency denies approval of salary increase for Tinubu orders. Shetima meets with Bill Gates, Dangote governors. FG may reopen Semeboda for vehicle importation. FG's plan to increase electricity tariff insensitive. Carlos Labor. And on sport, Flying Eagles forward joins Croatian club. I am Morire Rabila Lawal. The news in detail. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is scheduled in joining other high-profile panelists on Thursday evening to speak at the new Global Financing Pact Summit taking place in Palais Brocgnot, Paris, France. The financial summit hosted by France seeks to establish a system that will be more responsive, just and inclusive. According to a report published, the president is among the panelists bid to speak for 1 hour between 800 hours and 1900 hours. The panel session titled Ensuring More Reliable, Comparable Information and Data will be moderated by Sylvie Goulart and Mark Carney. Other panelists expected to be in the 1 hour session event include David Gray, co-chair of the Task Force on Nature-Related Financial Disclosures, Mark Carney, co-chair of the Glasgow Financial Alliance for Net Zero. Others are Mary Scarpiro, vice chair of Global Public Policy at Bloomberg, Sabine Modri, vice chair of the Network for Greening the Financial System, and United Nations Special Envoy Catherine McKenna. Vanguard earlier reported that Tinubu arrived at the venue in the company office aide de camp, Nourdine Yusuf, and was received by the French Minister of Foreign Affairs and Europe, Catherine Colonna. The president of the African Development Bank, AFDB, Akinwumi Adesina, will also join another set of panelists to speak on debt and SDR channeling, where do we stand and how to go further. Also, the World Trade Organization WTO Director General Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala will discuss at the summit the question what consequences for trade agenda. Also, the presidency has denied approving a purported 114% increase in the salary for the president, vice president, elected federal and state political office holders, and judicial officers. The presidency also said it followed with consternation the viral story of the purported 114% increase in the salaries of political office holders and judicial officers. Presidential spokesperson Dele Alake, in a statement on Thursday, stated that without any equivocation that President Bola Tinubu has not approved any salary increase and no such proposal has been brought before him for consideration. According to him, while the presidency recognized that it is within the constitutional remit of Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission (RMAFC) to propose and fix salaries and allowances of political office holders and judicial officers, such cannot come to effect until it has equally been considered and approved by the President. He said it was important to note that RMAFC, through its public relations manager, has responded to the fake story being circulated and had already set the record straight. Adake noted that the facts that the unfounded story gained prominence on social media and in a section of mainstream media again brings to the fore the danger fake news poses to society and our national well-being. Moving on to the next story. Vice President Senator Kashim Shettima on Thursday met with co-chairman of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Bill Gates, the chairman of the Dangote Foundation, Aliko Dangote, and members of the Nigerian Governors Forum, NGF. The meeting, which commenced at 11:43 a.m., was held behind closed doors at the State House, Abuja. It is path of engagement lined up for Mr. Gates' visit to Nigeria and Niger Republic. Though the agenda of the meeting is not yet known, it is gathered that participants would consider areas of collaboration between both foundations and the federal government, especially in the health and education sector. In attendance at the meeting are the NGF chairman and Kwara State Governor Abdurrahman Abdurrazak and his Bauchi State counterpart Bala Mohammed, Others are Governors Umar Rada Kassina, Dauda Lawal Zamfara, Abdullah Isile Nasara, Ahmed Aliyu Sokoto, and Umar Namadi, Jigawa State. As of the time of filing this report, Governors Alex Oti, Abia, Ahmadu Fintiri Adamawa, Umo Eno Akwa Ibom, Charles Solodo Anambra, Dewediri Bayelsa, Biodun Oyebanji Ekiti, Godwin Obaseki Edo, Nasiru Idris Kebi were yet to arrive. Moving on to the next story. The federal government of Nigeria has considered the reopening of Seme land border for the importation of vehicles. Recall that Seme border was closed in August 2019 by the immediate past president Muhammadu Buhari-led administration. According to the Director of Road Transport in the Ministry of Transportation, Ibrahim Musa, who made the announcement on Wednesday during his speech at the Economic Community of West African States (ECOWAS) meeting organized between officials of Nigeria and Benin, the federal government has decided to reopen the border following complaints by freight forwarders operating in the area. Musa said, "I was here with the former Minister of State for Transportation when the freight forwarders pleaded that the border should be reactivated for the free movement of goods and services. The former minister made us prepare a memo to that effect. It was considered and sent to the government." Dera Nadi, the Customs Area Controller of Seme Border Command, also noted that the service has noticed a reduction in its revenue since the importation of vehicles was banned from the land borders. The former Minister of Transportation, responding to some of our requests and from the stakeholders, promised to take them to the Federal Executive Council (FEC). One of them is how to fulfill and fully open this border. The ministry has informed us that the memo has been written to FEC and it was adopted and it would be given to the new government. He assured us that all the requests were adopted. And to the next story. The Nigeria Labour Congress (NLC) has described as insensitive and callous the federal government 40% proposed hike in electricity tariff from July 1. The NLC said with contemplation of payment of school fees in tertiary institutions and increases in privately owned ones in addition to other cost tariffs on the way, life in Nigeria could really be obscene. The Labour Center, in a statement issued by its president, Comrade Joe Ajaero, advised the government to shelve the proposed tariff hike in collective safety of the masses. The statement read, "The plan to increase electricity tariff by 40% by July 1st is both insensitive and callous and reflects an organized indifference to the well-being of consumers, especially the poor ones. The massive increase is explained away as a response to the over 100% increase in the pump price of premium metal spirits, PMS, popularly known as petrol. Details reveal a movement in inflation from 16.9% to 22.41, threatening to needle 30, and a shift in exchange rate from 441 naira to 750 naira. We will believe not even these figures are justification for this reckless proposed tariff increase. The issue of capacity to pay and quality of service delivery are not only jamming but superior to any rationalization by market logic. The NLC contended that there have been increases without notice in violation of status." From that story, we go to the next story. A digital forensic expert, Itla Unwala, testified on Thursday at the Presidential Election Petition Court (PEPC) that the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) deleted all the results of the presidential elections in the Federal Capital Territory (FCT) under the guise of preparing for the March 18, 2023 governorship election. Unwala, who was called as an expert witness by former Vice President Atiku Abubakar and the People's Democratic Party (PDP) in the petition challenging the declaration of Bola Ahmed Tinubu as the winner of the February 25 presidential election, provided his evidence during examination in chief by the petitioner's counsel, Chief Chris Uche San. He stated that he examined 110 by Model Voters Accreditation System (BIVAS) machines as a sample material from the FCT. During court examination, Unwala, who was sworn to the court, acknowledged that there might be an increase in deviation as the number of samples analyzed increases based on the small sample space of 110 samples. Chief Wole Olanipekunsan, counsel to President Tinubu, challenged the forensic report during cross-examination, pointing out some identified errors that author admitted. INEC lead counsel Abubakar Mahmoud San also raised objections during his cross-examination, questioning the small sample size used. He highlighted that the sample size of 110 devices was only 3.5% of the total devices deployed in FCT and 0.06% of the total devices deployed in the country during the election. And to the next story. The Debt Management Office, DMO, has issued a warning to the federal government, FG, against additional borrowing, citing that 73.5% of this year's revenue will be used to service debts. According to the DMO, this high debt service to revenue ratio is unsustainable and poses a threat to debt sustainability. The DMO recommended that the FG focus on increasing revenue generation to achieve a sustainable debt service to revenue ratio. It suggested raising the projected FGN revenue from 10.49 trillion naira to about 15.5 trillion naira. These recommendations were made after analyzing the nation's debt profile in 2022. DMO's analysis revealed that the total public debt to GDP ratio is projected to increase to 37.1% in 2023, mainly due to new borrowings, FGN ways and means at the CBN, and estimated promissory note issuance, while the baseline scenario indicates that the debt stock remains sustainable. The borrowing space has been reduced compared to the self-imposed debt limit of 40%. Moving on to the next story. Some suspected hoodlums have invaded Ogbomoso town in Oyo State and destroyed cars, houses, and other property worth millions of naira. Information gathered that the suspects invaded the town in the early hours of Wednesday. The hoodlums wreaked havoc in some parts of Ogbomoso, including Aje, Exchange, Ladenu, and Ijeru areas. The suspect, according to sources, invaded the areas around 12 a.m. on Wednesday and operated for many hours, destroying houses, cars, and other property. Information gathered from intelligence of the town that the family house of former lawmaker Jacob Adejumo Ajao, located at Eleruku compound, was also destroyed. Ajao represented the Ogbomoso North/Ogbomoso South Oniriri Federal Constituency, located at Elekuro compound. From that story from Ogbomoso, we go to the foreign story. The British High Commissioner to Nigeria, Richard Montgomery, says the decision of the United Kingdom, UK, restricting foreign students from bringing dependents with them starting in 2024 is not targeted at Nigerians. Rather, it is to protect UK infrastructure, as the number of students bringing their family members from all around the world surged in the last couple of years. The British High Commissioner stated this on Wednesday after he met with Vice President Kashim Shettima at the State House, Abuja. He admitted that the number of Nigerian students coming to the UK increased fivefold in 3 years, just as the overall number of international students also increased. Montgomery added that though this is a fantastic success story for our universities, it is not always possible to find housing and services for the high number of population coming into the UK with their families.
Talk about migration.
Sure.
Your government recently made a regulation about people coming, foreign students bringing in dependents from their home countries. Does that have implications too?
Okay, your response should be to the camera, please.
So that issue was not raised in the meeting just now, but I would like to put the media debate about this in wider context. So last year, for example, the UK granted 3 million new visas, of which 325,000 of those visas were to the UK, for between Nigeria and UK. So Nigerian visitors constitute over 10% of the people coming to London and the UK. On the issue of student visas, I'd also just like to provide the context that the number of Nigerian students coming to the UK has increased fivefold in the last 3 years. It's a fantastic success story for our universities, and we're really delighted that so many Nigerians are coming to the UK. The issue about restrictions on people bringing dependents, that's partly because not just from Nigeria, but from many parts of the world. Many more students are trying to bring their dependents with them. And I think that there are two issues here. The first is it's not always possible to find the housing and services to meet all the needs of all our existing student population. And secondly, I think reasonable people would accept that we have to manage our visitor numbers and that we have to manage migration in and out of the UK, just as the Nigerian government does for your own borders.
That will be all. Thank you.
From that foreign story, we go to the sports story. To end the world news coming to you live from BGI TV Currents. Flying Eagles forward Salim Fago Lawal has sealed a transfer to Croatian club Istra 1961. Istra and his Nigerian club Mavlun FC have reached an agreement on the move. According to a report in Squad Nigeria, Fago is waiting for his entry visa to travel to his new base. Lawal is expected to pen a long-term contract with his club. The young striker featured in all of the Flying Eagles 5 games at the 2023 FIFA Under-20 World Cup in Argentina. Istra 1961 are based in Pula and finished 5th in the Croatian top flight this season. That's the sports story and the world news this hour. Before we go, some headlines. Tinubu to speak on information, data and at Paris summits. Presidency denies approval of salary increases for Tinubu orders. Shetima meets with Bill Gates, Dangote governors. FG may reopen semi-border for importation of vehicles. And on sport, Flying Eagles forward joins Croatian club. For more updates of our broadcast on YouTube, our handle is BGI TV Current. Kindly subscribe and click on the notification bell. Select option all to access all of our broadcasts. On Facebook, please like and follow the page. For advert placement for goods and services, coverage of events and functions, please dial the phone number streaming on your screen. Thank you for watching. I am Mo Rabila Lawal.